Hey guys, Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time, we went down to the Paradise Towers, where the Kangs are not green and you may get devoured, which I believe is how the Guns N' Roses song goes.
Okay.
Anywho, what actually happened?
Well, seriously, it could have been something that John Cleese had written and or performed in. There's this perfect city with the Paradise Tower, I guess, in the center of it, or making up most of it. The problem is, it is run by a group, I can't remember what they were called.
The caretakers.
Who were essentially in it for themselves, trying to take care of the residents, many of them apparently little old ladies. And then there's groups of gangs, girl gangs, the red and the blue Kangs. And then there were the machines, the cleaners, what were they called?
Yeah.
Cleaners, that literally not only went around cleaning up all the graffiti, but also capturing people and taking them down into the basement where their bodies were discarded and their life force was put into. It was weird.
Yeah.
But again, I like the Doctor. I like the Seventh Doctor. He's growing on me quite quickly. But the more I see of Mel, the less I like her. She's just, when she first started out with the Sixth Doctor, she was okay, and now she's devolved into just another, Susan, damsel in distress, and unfortunately screaming all the time.
Yeah, so, and yeah, that was pretty much the gist of it. And then we also had Pex, the coward who wasn't a coward at the end, and the old ladies that ate people, giving a bad name to the other old ladies who didn't eat people.
Yeah.
And then they all came together because the creator of the towers took over the chief caretaker's body and was like a zombie dude, and then they all came together to blow him up, and then the Doctor and Mel left. So, this episode is only 3 parts.
Okay.
And so is the next one, actually. And then that's it for the season. So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same episode count as season 22, which had double-length episodes. And then they did the next season. It was the same episode count, but then they went back to the half-hour episodes, and that persists here. It's 4 stories this season, but they are short, and these last 2 are only 3 parts. So
it makes me wonder, did they repeat these like we do here on American television, just because they would only take up a certain amount of time during the season? Or did they completely take Doctor Who off the air and then put something else in its place? Which, in recent years, a lot of American networks have done, say, here's a spring season and wait for the return of, X show in the fall.
Yeah, I would imagine it's more like that. I know there have been times, people have told us that there have been, they've re-aired episodes of Doctor Who, but I don't know how often that is, because I don't know. I don't know how prevalent reruns are in Britain, because I know one difference between American and British television is syndication, and because I remember I watched a video, I think it was some of the people that created the British version of The Office, and they only went for 2 seasons. It was about 8 episodes a season, so it was only 16 episodes, but the American version of The Office went well over 100 episodes, because, yeah, you can just run it on whatever channel will take it, and everyone makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that is just not a thing in Britain. I don't think they have that many channels to do that. So, it's probably a problem in America that we have so many dang TV stations, none of which are really airing anything good. So,
well, there was a reference to that in this last play I directed. The director's trying to get the young actor to appear in this new series, and he says, if it hits, you'll get participation. And the kid says, you mean participation in syndication? He goes, yes. First run, rerun, 3 a.m. in Singapore in the year 3000. Anytime it airs, you'll get paid. And that's why they do it.
Yeah. So, but I at least know that there were some reruns of Doctor Who. Like, especially I think before the 5th Doctor's era started, they replayed a couple regeneration episodes because, you really had to win over the audience on the idea of regeneration again because Tom Baker stayed so long. So, and I know that at the very least, like, Doctor Who airing in different countries is how we have found some of those old missing episodes, you know? So, I don't know, but yeah, these last 3 seasons are particularly short. According to our projections, we should be done by the middle of June. So yeah, it's not going to take that long, unless we just keep blabbering on about television for... which, I mean, I guess that's kind of the point. We are blabbering on about television, but we should be more focused to today's episode, Delta and the Bannermen. A very interesting name. I'm curious as to how literal it is, but I just like that it's not just the something, you know?
Planet of something.
Yeah, so Delta and the Bannermen, it's a very interesting title at least, so. You got anything else?
So when we come to an end, I think I've already asked you the question of whether or not we take a break, and if we're going to go on to New Who, since you've already watched New Who. But wasn't there also somebody in the UK that was going to see if we could do an interview with them? Have you ever heard anything about that?
Maybe, yeah. I haven't heard of it since, but it's entirely possible. Yeah. But cool. But yeah. So, and we'll also have the movie to do. Between that, and then, I mean, we might as well just go right to the 9th Doctor. There's nothing really stopping us, and it'll be nice. The only thing, the only thing I dread about doing new Doctor Who is living through those comments all over again. But at the same time, it's not like they've stopped since I stopped doing new Doctor Who. It's just that I find that older people also have those opinions about older Doctor Who. So it's fine. And for the first few seasons, it's okay. It's very rare to find someone who... I've never found a person who doesn't like Christopher Eccleston, and there are very rare species if they don't like David Tennant. And every so often I'm like, ooh, I don't hear that so often. Like, I almost want to engage. I don't, but I almost want to engage just because it's like, ooh, I don't hear that. He's always the favorite Doctor, like the Tom Baker of the modern era, basically. So we'll get to that eventually. I guess in June.
Well, the bits I've seen, and again, we only did just a very quick preview of each of the Doctors, except for the newest one.
Yeah.
I've found them all engaging in their own way. So I don't think there's a clinker amongst them.
Yeah, definitely. Which is not that's not an opinion that's shared throughout the entire Doctor Who community, but yeah, I hold that every actor that has played the Doctor has been very, very good. Some of them have better writers than others, but even still, like, each one has at least one really solid episode. So, I guess I can't fully say that about Ncuti Gatwa. The man's only had one episode, and it's good. It was a good first episode, but I don't know. And that... so... We're going to be finishing up classic Doctor Who around the time that his new season starts up, because I think it starts up in May. So I'm going to have to do that. So, it's been 9 minutes, so I guess we should probably get started. So, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into this episode of Doctor Who Classic. Here we go. Good cheese. This will be a fun place to be. Oh no, they got the toy soldiers. That was clever.
You are the last survivor, but not for long.
Oh, it's a hero.
Take this with you.
The proton pack.
Toll port G715. Toll port G715.
Mal, I don't like the look of this one little bit.
Me too. It's spooky.
Ready to run back to the TARDIS at the first sign of trouble.
Okay.
Why wait for trouble? Just go back to the TARDIS.
Now, about this toll fee.
Toll fee? Oh, tonight is your lucky night. Because you are our 10 billionth customer.
Oh, that's convenient.
You have won our fabulous 50s tour. A whole week in Disneyland, planet Earth.
Disneyland.
Time.
Hello. Will you put me through to the White House, Washington, D.C.? This is a priority call, code 11.
No. That's the guy on the phone. That's a very famous
Hello?
American actor.
This is Agent Jerome P. Weissmuller speaking from Wales, in England. He says that Cape Canaveral has fired a space rocket with an artificial satellite.
This is history in the making, Weissmuller. What are we supposed to do about it?
Surveillance, Hawk, surveillance. We've been selected.
This guy was in a film in the late 60s called Cat Ballou. He and Nat King Cole were the musical narrators. In 59, we were barely getting into space.
Yeah.
Will they be anything conspicuous on Earth?
I don't think so. Not now. They've been through a transformation.
Hang on, you can do it. Good job.
Mal, you go ahead on the bus. I'll follow on in the TARDIS.
Thanks.
You don't think the old bus will make it, Doctor? Underneath this streamliner shell, there's a Hellstrom fireball engine. None finer.
Come on, folks, all aboard.
I think this is what it's like to go on a Boeing airliner now.
Like the Lone Stars Winnebago in Spaceballs.
So this interplanetary war is going to follow them all the way to Disneyland.
Sputnik.
Come on now, we can see!
You know, the American version thereof. It's Liberace. It's the Terminator.
Yeah, that dude's a terrorist. Well, to be fair, this isn't the bus's fault, but the bus driver.
Bad news. That satellite has gone haywire. And the scientists think it's going to fall to Earth somewhere around here.
Aww. I want to go to Disneyland, not Wales. Oh, jeez.
Maybe that series of primitive dwellings could be used as some sort of way station.
It's a holiday camp.
Excellent! That's what I'm looking for.
I'm your Uncle Ernie, and I welcome you to Tony's holiday camp.
Oh, don't go by appearances, Mel. Often the most interesting people stay at these places. This is the real 50s.
Oh, hello.
I love they literally couldn't afford Disneyland.
Welcome, campers. I am your camp leader while you are here at Shangri-La.
I'm your wicked Uncle Ernie.
My name is Burton.
Old man Burton said there was something wrong with your bus, is that right?
Well, we hit this low orbital satellite, which jammed the navipod, and here we are.
Hey, get him up, get him up.
Hi, Billy.
Oh, hi, Rachel. This is Murray and the doctor.
Please call me Ray. Oh, do you guys want a hand?
You haven't by chance got a 1 5/8 socket, have you?
Do you always carry around a full set of tools with you?
Oh, it's what Billy taught me. Always to be prepared.
A stitch and tie
Fair
with a
enough.
up spade. If she's who I think she is, then she's in danger.
From someone here.
That's what we've got to find out.
Well, this is to remind you that tonight we are having our Get to Know You dance.
It sounds like hell on earth.
Yes, I used to go to dances like this. Not in 1959, I was only 8 years old.
There's many a slap twixt a cup in a lap, Ray.
and me
Wonderful
will end up
malaprops.
together?
Oh, the terrorist.
She's at a place called Shangri-La in South Wales, Western Hemisphere, Earth. Now lock into this signal to guide
Which
you.
one is the Western one?
The reward will be yours when we arrive.
Wales is literally about as far east in the Western Hemisphere as you can get, because the Prime Meridian runs through Greenwich in London. So this is like less than 100 miles west.
Oh, yeah.
Mel, there's something you should know.
My egg is hatching.
If you kill for money, let the girl go. She's worth nothing to you.
I don't just kill for money. It's also something I enjoy.
Right now. Make sure. Stubby K, yeah, that's American comedian, did a lot of musicals. He's short and round. He's a great character actor. I'm really very surprised because I wasn't aware that he had done British TV.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Now, there was an abrupt jump there at the end because when the terrorist was calling Gavrok, he hadn't seen the doctor and the girl yet.
Yeah, the doctor sneezed.
Oh.
And then he found them. So.
All right, I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. I need to accept the new... It's weird to say new because we're not there yet, but the new Doctor Who, because this season has been so unlike the rest of classic Doctor Who. But I like that.
Yeah.
I like that it's different. Let's just go to this... Not an amusement park, just this camp in Wales, in the Western Hemisphere, I guess.
That far into the Western Hemisphere.
Which I didn't know that there officially was an Eastern and a Western Hemisphere. I guess it makes sense to have the Prime Meridian divide that. Where does it divide on the other side? I guess just
the international date line.
Okay, yeah. So
although, whereas the Prime Meridian is a straight line, goes down out of Greenwich through France, maybe far western France, maybe Spain, then it goes through Africa. When you get out into the Pacific, because all the islands are so far apart, the international date line will jog east and west to get certain island groups in the Western Hemisphere and certain island groups into the Eastern Hemisphere.
Well, yeah. So, isn't it true that when they came up with the Prime Meridian, they literally put it right outside their doorstep?
Yes, if I recall correctly, it was what was it? The Royal Geographic Society, and their headquarters was in Greenwich Village, and they seriously were trying to think of a way to divide the Earth because they knew about the equator, the northern and southern hemispheres. And literally, I mean, Joker in the back of the room situation sort of, why don't we just put it out there? So there's literally a post in the sidewalk right outside the old Royal Geographic Society, and then it just went north and south from there. And because Great Britain had, all the great explorers in the 1800s and 1900s, early 1900s, it was just accepted worldwide.
It's such a British thing to do.
Now, again, you have to understand, once Elizabeth's fleet under Francis Drake beat the Spanish Armada, and this was like 1588, from 1588 to 1918, Great Britain was the greatest power in the world. The United States was nothing. We had isolated ourselves because we didn't need to be involved in European affairs or Eastern Asian affairs, or even Western Asian affairs for that matter. And so until World War I, the United States was just off on its own. Nobody cared about us.
So the Prime Meridian lines up, I mean, as exact as it can with the international date line?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming they came up with that part second after...
Yes.
After the meridian.
Because just like the equator, you go degrees north and south of the equator. The North Pole is 90 degrees north, the South Pole is 90 degrees south. But because we don't have poles like that going east and west, you go in degrees and minutes and seconds around. When you get to the international date line, that's 180 degrees. That's one half of the 360-degree globe.
No.
I'm also trying to remember, Stubby K may have been in, I want to say, Guys and Dolls. Played a character named Nicely, and one of the great showstoppers of that musical is a song called Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat. So I'm just remembering, I'm so surprised to see him here. But yeah, and the holiday camps, again, I was quoting lines from the rock musical Tommy, which was written by The Who, a wonderful British band. But there were, you might remember, I think it was Tom Baker started one of his stories at Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
There on the beach with all the empty beach chairs and everything. So all along the southern and I guess western coast of England and Wales, they have these because the further north you get, I mean, we were only as far north as East Anglia. And even in the summertime, as I said, it only gets up into the 70s and 80s degrees Fahrenheit. So it's kind of cool. So if you go down to the very southern part of England, it's going to be warmer.
It did. Nowadays, I know, because every summer there's an unfortunate panic of British people on Twitter because it's now too hot in Britain and they're not equipped for it. So it is one of those things where it's like, man, that's one of those things where, you know, Americans on Twitter, it's like, stop being American. It's like they have every right to complain about this. It's like, yes, we're sitting in here with, you know, our central air conditioning. They don't really have that.
Oh yeah,
anywhere really.
We didn't even have central heat. Again, I lived there from 63 to 66. The last house we lived in at least had electrical heaters in the wall, but we supplemented that with wood fires in the fireplaces and kerosene heaters.
Yeah, so I remember there was a car show where they were doing cars in China, and specifically like, oh, let's show, you know, the Chinese these 3 cars that they could go, that are, you know, affordable and everything, that they could go find in other countries. And one of them specifically got, I think it was a Cadillac from America, and the city that they were in, it was like 110 degrees that day. And he said, the reason I got this car is because when Americans build a car, they build the air conditioner first, and then they build a car around it. So it's one of the only things, because it's ridiculous. I think today, and it's not April yet, it's the 30th of March, it's a high of 80 today here in Oklahoma. So it's like, you gotta have that, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's an unfortunate thing the British don't have. At least not as much.
One last little geography lesson here. You may recall there's this gigantic ocean current that goes clockwise around the Atlantic. As the water nears the coast of Africa and the equator, it heats up because of the direct sunlight. As it then crosses the Atlantic, that's why the northern part of South America and the Caribbean are all very, very warm, up to and including Florida, because they get the warm water and the warm air above that. As the current continues up the East Coast, it keeps places like Washington, D.C., New York, and even Boston somewhat warmer than the interior. Like Boston is always going to be much warmer than Chicago, and especially warmer than Denver, because it gets that residual warm air. The last little bit of that air crosses the southern tip of Greenland, crosses Iceland, and then turns south on the west coast of Ireland and in Wales and Cornwall and Land's End area. So that's why Wales would have a holiday camp like that, because it gets that last little bit of warm water and warm air.
Yeah, so none of this has been about the episode, really, but that's fine. It's more to discuss afterwards. So, all right. Well, I'm curious as to where we're going, because now it's like I have to rethink my entire mentality about Doctor Who. It's like, oh, we only have 2 episodes left, so where does this go? You know, there's a slimy green head hatching from an egg. So,
Hello, I'd like to talk to you about your automobile's extended warranty.
What an unexpected bound.
That bounty hunter will be paid off sooner than he thinks. I'm the beacon hunter.
Oof. Well, that worked out. Mazel tov.
Hello.
Risk.
Nope.
I'm going to trust you. And I think you deserve a full explanation. I think you're going to close the door.
I think he deserves a drink. Something hard.
Anything in the last day or so?
I shall ask my bees. They know everything that happens.
Sure. Well, I reckon
You know, bees have an innate sense of royalty.
If you stay to take a look at this butterfly. Arguably one of the most beautiful creatures in the whole of nature. Yet, if you were to see a pupa, you'd think it was the ugliest sight you've ever seen.
Is that where we're going with Green Baby?
Without the other.
I would think so. That's
Sorry,
called
Elijah.
foreshadowing.
Oh.
The hills around here are beautiful. We can go somewhere really special.
But I can't walk too far with the baby.
No, I never said anything about walking.
Well, I'll give Billy this. He is determined.
Yeah, take a baby on a motorcycle. Even if it is in a sidecar.
An alien baby.
Oh, my head.
You went off-roading in that thing?
Well, there's at least a path.
Oh, you're a bit of a heavyweight, aren't you?
The most rapid growth occurs in the lymphoid state. She'll double her size and her weight in the next few hours.
Come on.
Oh good, we won't have to keep a baby on screen.
Are you telling me that you are not the Happy Hearts Holiday Club from Bolton, but instead are spacemen in fear of an attack from some other spacemen? And because of the danger, you want me to evacuate the entire spaceship, eh?
Oh, can I come too, Doctor?
Of course, but let's go quickly.
Murray! Murray, wake up! Murray!
What's the matter?
There's an emergency, Murray. We have to
Oh,
get
the
ready to
eagle!
leave as soon as the bus is fixed.
I love the
Kind
eagle.
of emergency.
Alright, and that's solid evidence.
I am still not sure what I saw in that police box, but I cannot risk my staff for it.
You're doing the right thing.
Why were you late?
If I can get the hatchling safely to the Brood planet, then I can take my case to judgment. They will then send an expeditionary force to get rid of Gavrok and his Bannermen.
Well, I'll do whatever I can to help, Delta.
You are way too invested in this girl.
I will lead the main party. You two, guard them. Come.
Good. We don't need random people dying. Oh no.
Fishermen are finished!
Okay.
What are you picking up?
It's not clear, but it's coming from down there.
Well, there's nothing there, except old Garomwe's place.
Does he keep bees?
Yeah. How did you know that?
It's his bees who are telling us to come.
Quick!
Bees have an innate sense of royalty.
I came here under a white flag, and I will leave under that same white flag. And woe betide any man who breaches its integrity. Now step aside! Release those prisoners! Gavrok, it's over. You're finished, and we're leaving.
There's enough space for all three of us.
Actually, I think I may have gone a little too far.
Hang on, let me see who Gavrok is. The more we get a close-up of his face, he also looks very familiar.
Well, yeah. So it's not anything about the bees, per se. I just wanted to quote Jupiter Ascending, one of the worst movies ever made. But the way Sean Bean delivers that line is hilarious. So, no, instead, it's just that we just found the most accommodating old man in all of Wales, apparently. So, you know, the only thing that's actually weird in this episode now is Billy. The fact that he's so invested in Delta and the baby. Yeah. Like, it's kind of odd, but other than that, very interesting, very exciting.
Yeah. Now, I know somebody in one of our last videos commented about the fact that we always talk about who would make interesting companions. The girl, Ray,
yeah, she
would make a much better companion than Mel. She knows mechanical stuff. She's fun. She's got a little bit of fight in her.
Yeah.
And again, I'm still trying to figure out what the writers thought they were getting with Mel. And if it's just the damsel in distress, I thought we had ditched that a long time ago.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe they'll take sort of the characterization they've built for Ray and sort of apply it a bit more to Ace. Because even because obviously, yes, she's from 1959 and Ace was more of a sort of, punk 80s character. But even still, I can see sort of the beginnings of that.
Yeah.
So, considering we're not too far away from Ace, that could be part of the idea, at least. So, but yeah. But otherwise, a very interesting episode. And again, I think this is going to be the time, though, that we prove that the 3-episode format might have been better than the 4-episode format this whole time. Yeah. Because it's like, we only have one more episode, let's resolve this and it'll be all nice and good. So,
up. Now what? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's better than just sitting around. Hey.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Boy, it's no use, lady. They got a special kind of a wrench. It's sort of like a Dinky Allen key.
Is this dinky enough?
It's looking good, sister.
I'll have you out in a minute. Then follow me in your car.
Well, there's nothing even special about that. It's just to connect their necks together. Has he been a Bannerman this whole time? Because that's a long con. Oh, good job. Oh.
Are you ready, my carrier? Oh, I do here, Doctor. Hand him up!
Move him out.
Got a whole convoy now.
You put the tracker out in the middle with the sheep. It's a scapegoat.
Oh. All that hard work. Oh no. No, not the bees!
Not the bees! Ah!
They're in their eyes!
Open up my eyes! Eyes! Ah! Ah!
What the heck?
What's that you're hiding, Billy? You haven't been eating that, have you?
I had to, Delta. I'm not a Shimran, but if I'm to come with you, then I have to become one.
But it's never been tried on humans before. It might kill you.
It'll be all right.
It's literal alien baby food.
They're coming!
All haste and no speed makes Jill a dull girl.
Snipers, forward!
Two of them! On the roof!
Ah! This one, Billy! Run!
Forward!
Oh, they're gonna use her singing.
Now the stormtroopers. Heads better be exploding.
I really hope so.
Oh, he's gonna fall over the top.
That worked.
Yeah! Mr. Burke, it's over! It's over! Oh, it's over!
Oh, lovely, lovely!
Now come and see your new spaceship, Delta Princess.
Just take theirs.
Well, that should hold them all the way back to Mars. Or wherever you're going.
Considerably further than that.
Is he at least taking his motorcycle with him? Not just the guitar.
I believe this is your satellite, gentlemen.
Let's get out of here while they're confused. Well, that was one of the goofiest episodes of Doctor Who. But you know what? I'm all down for an hour and a half of goofiness. So,
but I mean, interesting plot, and again, you take out the goofiness, and it would be very, very silly and actually kind of cruel. I mean, let's face it, Gavron and his folks are just cold-blooded killers.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps to lighten the mood and yet move the plot along.
I will say that, you know, for them being cold-blooded killers, like, not an actual body count in this one. That's not one that's too terrible. There's Gavrok and
one of the snipers that the Queen, that Delta shot.
Yeah.
The assassin who got blown up.
Yeah.
And then there was one other guy, I think.
Was there anyone from, like, the bus or anything? I don't think so.
Well, the whole bus got blown up. Unless they said they managed to escape just before it blew up.
No, that bus exploded.
Yeah.
And I almost forgot that completely. Because I was like, oh yeah, the bus, that you know, in my mind, I just, wow, maybe I'm getting old, I don't know. Because I was just like, yeah, the bus got away, and now we're continuing on with the plot. I just completely blanked that out, that they all explode. Okay, so, because I was going to say, like, you know, this episode almost works as a better example at the end of Trial of a Time Lord than the one that was actually... Now, granted, the Doctor, you know, it was a whole thing in that part of the story, but this one kind of works, and it's like, you know, I like that idea of, you know, we're actually going to fix some of the things that we've been doing in this show for a while. Many seasons of just, these episodes are getting way too dark, you know? Yeah. But, yeah, that bus did just explode.
Now, we were talking earlier. I think the difference between 6 and 7 is that although Colin Baker was doing some of the same snarkiness, he didn't come off as charming the way Sylvester McCoy does.
Yeah.
McCoy is, again, more like Tom Baker, whereas Colin Baker was more like Hartnell. And Hartnell was rarely ever goofy. He was rarely ever charming. But because he was older, you could kind of go, all right, well, he's just a crotchety old man who's lived, 450 years. But in a young man, I think that worked against Colin Baker because he came off as arrogant and self-obsessed and narcissistic. So, again, that's not Colin Baker's fault. He did not get the greatest writers. He did not get great direction. And he, that's just unfortunate.
I think that's also a problem of companion. Because when Hartnell would be, kind of snarky, he would have there'd be the slight mischievous smile, but he would also be working off of Ian and Barbara. And that always worked, because he always liked to push their buttons, and occasionally they would push his buttons. That was their whole dynamic. Yeah. Whereas Colin Baker had Perry, who couldn't act off of anybody, which is unfortunate, because it's not really even her fault. It's just they don't write her to work off of anyone. And so McCoy, I think, just naturally bounces off of everybody, including Mel. And Mel is even somewhat of a better companion than Perry is. So, but you're right. It is sort of that Tom Baker sort of like, even when he says something ridiculous or you think maybe he's kind of angry or something, he just has that little smile, and then, we move on to something else. So, but yeah, a very interesting, fun. I heard that this season is McCoy's weakest season, and it's the stories in this one are not too fondly remembered, but I mean, so far, I enjoyed time in the Ronnie enough, and then Paradise Towers was interesting. I think this definitely helps that it's 3 episodes. I don't know if we could have done 4 parts of this.
No.
So, like, the fact that this was just 3 episodes, you get in, get out, it's all nice and good, So, so if anything, I'm going to finally use this as the proof that we've been right this whole time. Every time we say, well, this story could have been 1 episode shorter, And there are times where we have said this story could be 1 episode longer. It's very rare, but it does happen. Yeah. So, but yeah, especially for a story like this where it's like, you'd be stretching to get this to 4 parts. So yeah, but otherwise interesting characters. The Bannermen are an interesting threat. I'm gonna say the only thing that's, because the whole story is kind of weird and goofy and stuff, but the one thing that doesn't quite work, I think, is Billy, because man, he was determined to be a part of this alien species. Yeah. And I'm not, it's just kind of, it comes out of nowhere, because he just sees one pretty girl at this dance and ignores his childhood friend forever then.
Yeah, that's the one unresolved thing, is that either she was pushing too hard, or there was not enough of an establishment where he tried to say to her, I've grown up with you, you're like my sister. It's just something in there that would have been not quite so cruel of him just saying, hey, see you later, I'm going to go with the queen and her child.
Yeah. It's the thing of, it literally is, he saw a pretty girl at the dance, got some flowers, walked in right after her egg had hatched with her slimy green alien baby, and then sat through the night and listened to everything and said, yep, I definitely want to be a part of this. And
cut me a slice of that.
Yeah.
And there one other thing. Now, as a director, looking at this story, when they had handed it to me, I would have said, there's one last little piece of foreshadowing you need. Somewhere in the first episode, you need to show that the Bannermen are susceptible to high-pitched noises.
Well, yeah.
Even if it's just something on the ship goes wrong, or there's something else that causes them to just vaguely react. But there needs to be a setup, because that in the second episode and the third episode literally comes right out of the blue.
Yeah.
So just something that would foreshadow it just a tiny little bit, I think would have been better somewhere in that first episode.
Yeah. Well, it's a strange thing, because they kind of imply at the end that it's not even that they're weak to it necessarily. It's that it's just a very high-pitched noise, because even Burton had to wear earplugs at the end. But it seemed they only highlighted that Burton had to wear the earplugs. We didn't see Billy or Mel or even the Doctor wearing those, so it did seem like a bit of an odd thing. So, I am kind of glad that they didn't go with their heads exploding and goo flying everywhere. If this was literally one season earlier, they probably would have done that. Yeah. But I wonder if maybe they had gotten a few complaints by then, and they were like, let's not spend the money on that.
Well, now, without having exploding heads, just when the guys were writhing on the ground, tossing off their helmets, just, a little dribble of blood coming out of the ears or something that, that would say that it's not just annoying, but it's actually, it's a painful and possibly life-threatening thing to them.
I wonder if they couldn't do it because they're humanoid. That's too far for British television. Like you can have, aliens, weird furry suits that collapse in and pus comes out, but humans, maybe that's just a little too far.
To that I say, they blew up a bus.
Yeah, but it's but at the same time, like, they didn't blow up the bus and then it cuts to Mel and just red and guts just drain onto her. That would have been hilarious. Yeah. But I don't know. This is, it is episodes like this where I kind of sit here in the discussion, I'm like, what is there to really analyze about this episode? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting sort of like... It's interesting, I will say, like, technically there aren't a ton of locations, but I felt like every episode was kind of distinct from each other. Like, the first episode, there's the bus and eventually you get to the camp. After that, they kind of abandon, that setting in the second episode, go more out into the wilderness. The third episode kind of ties it all together. It's like you go back to the camp, you go to the old man's house and everything. So it's like, I like that there was visual diversity in all the locations, and honestly just seem like locations. I don't know if any of those were just like the only thing I could think is the place where they had the dance might have been a set, but it could have just been in this place that they clearly rented out for the month. Yeah. So
and by the way, I do like your idea that they're setting up Ace with the character of Ray there, because she was very interesting, Yeah. She's somebody who could actually, again, like we saw with earlier characters, she could be very helpful to the Doctor. Yeah. And she gets left behind, and then, 3 or 4 episodes later, we lose Mel and we pick up Ace.
Yeah, so yeah, because honestly, it's like, yeah, Mel didn't really do anything in this episode. Honestly, Mel's best episode is that first episode, Terror of the Vervoids. Even though that was also an episode where she was screaming a lot, she was so proactive in that episode, especially when the Doctor wasn't. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I do hear, like anything that doesn't work in Doctor Who, the Big Finish audio stories fix it. So I know they do at least have a story where the Doctor actually meets Mel, and not the whole, like, well, she's from the Doctor's future and we'll just have to figure it out later. Oh, we lost our actor. We fired our actor. Now what do we do? It's also an interesting thing. I'm liking this new approach to Doctor Who of let's have as many characters as humanly possible in one episode, because we did that last episode too, where it's like, here's all the Red Kangs and all the Blue Kangs and all the cannibal old ladies and Pex and the caretakers and everything. It's like there's so many characters, and now here it's like, here's everyone on the bus, everyone that's at the camp. Eventually we lose the bus, we lose the camp, but we still have Burton. And then we have Billy, and then we have Ray, and then we have, the Bannermen and all of this. There's so many different characters. And then there's the Americans as well. Then there's the Beekeeper. It's like they just keep doing it. Somehow they've balanced all of these characters in these episodes, which is impressive. But I like, towards the end, it's like we literally have a convoy of, we've got Ray's Vespa, basically. We have everyone that can be in the car. We've got Billy and the 2 aliens on the motorcycle. And they all just keep going. And it's like, I don't know how they managed to balance all these characters, but they did. So, I did like watching the Bannermen being perplexed at the existence of goats. I thought that was funny. Those poor goats are just confused as to what's happening. So, and then I'm glad that they did use the bees exactly the way you should use bees, as in attacking people. That was fun.
Now, something that, again, just would have been a minor visual effect is when Gavrok's Bannerman made it to the camp after Goranwi's house, that you would see them and they just had little sting marks on their face and on their hands.
Yeah, so...
And by the way, for guys who are supposed to be, the terror of this quadrant of the galaxy or whatever, they are awful shots.
Yeah.
Seriously, they're like the stormtroopers in the Star Wars.
Yeah, there's just a lot of kickback. I remember, I feel like there was some episode of Star Wars TV where they actually explained why the stormtroopers are such bad shots, but I can't remember. It's in... I can't remember. It might be in like an episode of The Bad Batch, but I don't remember it. But I feel like they actually had a reason as to why they suck so hard. And it's like... I get it. It's funny to make that explanation. On the other hand, it almost makes the stormtroopers look worse now that you've actually explained why they're that bad. But yeah, at least Delta got a good hit on one of the Bannermen. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah, I guess maybe the last thing is, why was the bounty hunter there? Like, because he seemed to be like already a part of it. Like he was already at the camp. Like no, he was on the bus. So yeah. He just happened to find Delta there. So I guess in theory that bounty hunter was genuinely going to Disneyland in the 1950s, and then he was going to have a lucky night because he had found Delta. So that's hilarious, thinking of this just random bounty hunter going to Disneyland. It's a little bit of a shame they couldn't go to Disneyland, but honestly, this location worked out pretty well, so...
Now, in 1959, Disneyland had only been open like 3 or 4 years, so...
Yeah, it's a strange... I mean, I assume they came up with the idea of going to the camp in 1959 before the idea of going to Disneyland, because that's where, the whole episode takes place. But it is quite an interesting idea of, like not only are we going to Disneyland, we're going back in time. It's like, you're already in, this is 1987. You could just go to 1987 Disneyland. There's probably more rides there. So... Alright, and next is Dragonfire. Another very interesting title for these episodes, but it'll be another 3-parter, and that'll be the end of season 24. So, we are really churning through them all now. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then that is basically it. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.